Nothing makes you happy. It's really very, very painful.
Imagine after a lifetime of depression, finding a miracle drug. But was it a miracle?
What convinced me was my clinical experience of treating people and seeing people get better.
Not everyone thinks so.
I think it's absurd, and it is a public health menace.
Dr. Bob Arnott with the little pill at the center of a big controversy. Dateline with Tom Brokaw, Jane Pauley and Stone Phillips, plus Katie Couric and Maria Shriver. From Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, here is Tom Brokaw.
If you've heard people talking about Sammy lately and weren't sure who they were referring to, maybe that's because Sammy isn't a person, it's a pill. A pill, some say, could help millions of people live happier, healthier lives. Does it work? Is it safe? Here's Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Bob Arnott.
Nothing makes you happy. There's no way to find happiness. You can have everything and you still feel really in pain. It's really very, very painful.
For most of her life, this woman has suffered from a debilitating illness. Like 17 million other Americans, she was diagnosed with clinical depression.
I would say I started getting depressed seriously when I was about 12. I began to notice that every night I was crying. I felt kind of sad all the time.
Lisa, who asked us not to use her last name, saw psychologists and psychiatrists. She took a variety of antidepressants, but the medications didn't help, and the side effects, like nausea and insomnia, left her even more depressed.
They didn't work. For some people they worked, but for me they weren't successful.
So in 1994, frustrated and desperate, Lisa decided to do her own research at a local medical library. What she found looked promising.
It sounded really excellent, and I was wondering, what's the catch? I mean, it sounds excellent.
Lisa read studies about SAM-E, short for S-adenosyl methionine, a natural substance found in every living cell. It's vital to the health of the body's tissues and organs. SAM-E has been used as a prescription drug in Europe for over 20 years. In fact, in Italy, it's one of the most widely taken antidepressants. Lisa hoped it would finally be the answer to her lifelong battle with depression, but SAM-E wasn't available in the U.S. until last spring, when it made a big splash as it went on sale not as a drug, but as a nutritional supplement.
Now to help support the emotional wellness needed to enjoy life, there's SAM-E from Nature.
Hi, it's Dr. Brown.
Psychiatrist Richard Brown of Columbia University is one of the leading proponents of SAM-E. He believes it could revolutionize how depression is treated in this country. He has recently written a book about the supplement called Stop Depression Now.
What convinced me was not just reading the studies. It was my clinical experience of treating people and seeing people who hadn't responded or been able to tolerate other things get better.
Impressed with the Italian success with SAM-E, Dr. Brown has been recommending it to his own patients for many years. You said that SAM-E is the best antidepressant that you've ever used.
Yes. SAM-E works as well as the standard antidepressants. It usually works faster in many cases.
So how does SAM-E work? Many scientists believe depression is caused by an imbalance of chemicals in the brain. The theory is that, much like prescription antidepressants, SAM-E helps correct that imbalance.
There are some people who believe in that theory and some people who don't. But the bottom line when somebody hurts is, not what the theory is about why it makes them better, but does it make them better or not?
And Dr. Brown says that treating depression is only half the SAM-E story. He points to Germany, where doctors use SAM-E to treat arthritis pain. And some researchers also believe it may help fight liver disease. What about side effects? Even critics agree. So far, the only problem is minor stomach pain, and that's when SAM-E is taken in high doses. Since it's not a prescription drug, SAM-E is not regulated or tested by the FDA. Instead, it's being sold as part of the billion-dollar dietary supplement market. So anyone can buy it at drugstores, health food stores, and on the internet. So is SAM-E some kind of a miracle pill that could offer relief to millions of people who suffer from depression, arthritis, and possibly other diseases? The debate over dietary supplements has only intensified in recent years, and SAMe doesn't appear to be any different. While some rave about it, not everyone is convinced.
I think it's absurd.
Dr. Frederick Quitkin is the executive director of the Depression Clinic for the New York State Psychiatric Institute.
I think that the evidence supporting that this is a rapidly working, widely effective treatment is dubious, and it is a public health menace.
How could it be a public health menace? Who's going to get hurt?
What's going to get hurt are there seriously ill people who will say this is a natural substance and will avoid effective treatment.
And Dr. Quitkin is skeptical of the studies that show SAMe is an effective antidepressant. Only a handful were done in the U.S. Most come from Europe. Dr. Quitkin believes the research does not meet the standards that the American medical community requires and that there is little proof that it works.
Such an unimpressive collection of studies is not that easy to find.
Seriously?
Absolutely. No question about it.
Dateline contacted a few of the researchers who conducted those U.S. studies, and even they told us that while SAMe holds promise, more research needs to be done. They would recommend trying it only after FDA-approved medications fail. As for Lisa, when she first heard of SAMe back in 1994, it wasn't yet available in the U.S. So she had it imported from Italy. And 5 years later, she is still taking it. She takes no other medication for her depression.
I felt something was really different. Something fundamentally was really different.
We spoke to a woman who had been depressed for a very long time and says basically that SAMe has transformed her life.
That could be a fortuitous event which is unrelated to the SAMe. Absolutely.
In fact, studies have shown that about 30% of depressed people feel better from just taking a placebo or sugar pill. So could that be the case with Lisa? She doesn't think so. She credits SAMe with changing her life.
I know in my heart that I almost didn't come out of this alive. And I think that that in itself makes you thankful for an average day. Because that was something that I could never achieve, even for one day before.